to 5 games, and he smashes one. How far will it carry? It is out of here. You can pucker up and kiss that baby goodbye. A 4-run swing for Jared Jones, and the Tigers bombs away in the bottom of the first inning. His 9th home run of the year. 4 more driven in for Jared Jones. What a big start for the Tigers.
I mean, that ball was hammered off of Mr. Holzhammer. A line drive. I didn't know if it had enough height to get out of the ballpark. This ball is hit so hard. It's actually a pretty good pitch down at the knees. Maybe a little more center cut than he would have liked, but you see that ball barely got over.
And we say a good morning to you. Happy Wednesday afternoon, or morning actually, getting ready to turn afternoon, taping here on March 26th with another edition of Tigers Roar. Buddy Songy in the house along with my cohort and buddy Jonathan Poche behind the glass. Hope all of you are doing well as, yes, Jared the Bear Jones once again going deep. That's his 9th dinger of the year. Have you noticed how many grand slams LSU has already hit this year? As a little shaky with some of the pitching. Still want that pitching to come around, but once again, Tigers prevail easily, 17-4 with the LSU baseball team win over the Cajuns last night. Softball went over to Lafayette, and after getting down 4 runs in the first inning, took care of the Lady Cajuns with a big score as well, 11-4. As always, hope all of you doing well. We have a ton to get to. It is LSU Pro Day out at LSU. All of those guys that are going out in the draft, Will Campbell, Emory Jones, everybody else running, throwing, catching, and trying to impress upon what they look like. You generally run a little quicker on that indoor surface, so there'll be a lot of pro scouts and head coaches. Of course, earlier this month, Kellen Moore and his 2 coordinators came over and participated in the Brian Kelly coaches clinic. And so we'll give you a little football, we'll give you a little baseball, softball. Obviously, Kim Mulkey and the Lady Tigers, you'll hear from Coach Mulkey coming up in a little bit, as that is as good as they can play in the third quarter. 50-49 at halftime, up and down. All of you who say women's basketball, I can't watch it. If you missed that game, shame on you. And then 31-6, they opened up a big lead and then win by 30. LSU women, the only team in the big dance to score 100-plus points in their first 2 games. They travel out west to Spokane to play NC State, a team that they defeated earlier in the year, 6:30 on Friday night. Speaking of Friday night, LSU baseball with Mississippi State. They're hosting the Bulldogs this weekend. That is Thursday at 7, Friday at 6:30, and Saturday in the afternoon. So you will have some collision. Gymnastics wins the SEC championship, 198.2. That's the highest score they've ever had in the SEC championships. They also are the number 1 overall seed. Have this weekend off, and then they'll go over to Penn State with the regional, and then, of course, invariably expect to get to Fort Worth in the Final Four, and they've got another great chance to defend their national championship. And so we've been out at the spring ball. All I'm going to tell you right now, folks, in the early opening is that LSU has more players, they have more depth, they have more speed, but the things that we've been talking about for the last 6 months are still very prevalent, and that means more physicality at the line of scrimmage. How many times did you watch LSU last year? You get inside the red zone, you get inside the 10 or the 5, they're trying to play smash mouth and didn't have that capability to move people. But you're going to love some of these new players. 16 from the transfer portal, 13 early enrollees that are coming in as freshmen, and guys like DJ Pickett and others. So we'll get into a little bit of all of that. And as always, March Madness, the SEC has never showed out this well. 7 men's teams making it to the Sweet 16 and 6 women's teams making it to the Sweet 16. The SEC has never been so good with basketball. And as always, we call in the glue around here as our producer and the guy along with Marty Campbell. Good to see owner Alan in the house. Alan Trailer, Bert Carson, our owners. Good to see AT back in the building today. We hope he continues to come back from his back issues. And he's got more patience than Carter has lever pills. But, JP, good to see you as always, my friend.
Oh, I appreciate that, Bud, man. Great to see you. Thanks for the shout-out for AT. Of course, we're glad to have him with us. A lot going on in the world of sports. Of course, you mentioned LSU Pro Day today with all the coaches and scouts and everything else coming to Baton Rouge to see these guys work out. A lot of future stars going to work out today for LSU. Of course, LSU baseball, ranked number 8 right now in most polls. I had a rough weekend against Texas, as you mentioned. It got off the schneid and really put it to the ULL Cajuns last night in the box. If you're familiar with social media, especially YouTube, a lot of people are saying that one was for Cajun-nomics. And if you know, you know. And LSU got it done. Bear Jones at the Grand Slam. 3rd Grand Slam for LSU so far this season. Of course, Josh Peterson and Tanner Reeves both had the first 2. But lots of RBI. Started off 9-1 in the bottom of the first and had enough pitching to carry it through. Took care of business in 7 innings, which is always good for the midweek games. Lots of talk about the rotation. Should Coach Jay Johnson switch the starters for Saturday and Sunday, at least, because Cade Anderson looks like he's an absolute stud. But still very early in the baseball season. Of course, this is only the 2nd SEC tournament, the first one on the road, the first road test for LSU. People don't understand that Texas is a very good baseball team. They're going to be right there at the end for the stretch going to Omaha. So nobody panic for LSU baseball. Coach Jay Johnson, in my opinion, the best coach in college baseball. Very talented roster. They'll figure out the bullpen, start getting some guys out. But a lot going on. You mentioned Coach Jay Clark. Shout out to the gymnastics team winning the SEC championship. But happy to be back here on Tigers Roar. Don't forget, always check out our YouTube page for Pelican at youtube.com/Pelican Broadcasting. All the Tigers Roars archived right there for you viewing pleasure. So while you're at the page, go ahead and click the notification, the like, and subscribe button if you've done so already. It certainly helps us with the algorithm, and you get notified every time we post something new right there at youtube.com/Pelican Broadcasting.
Coach Jay Johnson meeting with the media today at noon. A couple of players, of course, as always, they get ready now to host Mississippi State. As we said, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Take note of that next week. LSU goes back on the road. So after this weekend hosting Mississippi State, the next 2 weekends, LSU baseball on the road at Oklahoma and on the road at Auburn. Believe it or not, after these next 3 weekends, we're at the 50% standpoint. JP, just a quick overview on the baseball team. Look, I think they're hitting the ball good enough. Got to throw strikes, and Cade Anderson's been fantastic on Friday night. He definitely is the ace. I thought maybe they should have left Anthony Iacin in just a little bit longer this past weekend at Texas. He's had a tendency, if you get him early, but sometimes he recovers. But they took him out, and then it was a cluster with not being able to throw strikes. The true freshman phenom, William Schmidt from Calachi, really not in a groove right now, but don't worry, he will get there. But JP, got to find more pitchers coming in from that bullpen that throw strikes. You always are going to get squeezed on the road. There were some pitches that maybe should have been called strikes that wasn't. That being said, let's be honest, that's the first actual team with a pulse that they played all year. I know they beat Dallas Baptist and some other teams, but now you're in the thick of it, and so you find out just how good you're going to be. And I think that what the doctor would order, if you could call in the recipe for a great weekend, sweeping Mississippi State and putting the Tigers at 7-2 in the conference after 3 weekends. Softball, fantastic, as they have been fantastic. They took 2 or 3 out of Georgia last weekend. And we're going to give you a little bit more football because we've been going out to spring football. And look, JP, early tidbits there. You got to keep Nuss healthy, and you got to keep Caden Durham healthy. But I can't wait to see what they're going to look like in the summer and in that fall camp, because everybody out there knows it is imperative BK and LSU stop the 5 consecutive losses, 3 on BK's watch, and win that opening game. So there's a lot of work to be done. But, JP, I like the bodies. And, man, when you start to see some of these defensive tackles, 320, 340, 355, wait till you see number 99. Wait till you see number 94. These guys are 350-ish. JP, that's not a guy that's easy to move when you are playing at the line of scrimmage. And so more physicality. They're going to have great pressure from the edge. And JP, as always, I know it's early to try to have an idea of what they're going to go, but I am cautiously optimistic at this point in spring football. JP.
I completely agree, Bud, man. A lot to be optimistic about. LSU did a lot of noise or made a lot of noise in the transfer portal, brought in some real studs. I mean, some players that contribute right away. And they're bringing back a lot of guys. You know, the offensive room alone. You got Garrett Nussmeier playing for his second year as a starter with a very stacked wide receiver room. You talk about Aaron Anderson, Chris Hilton, Kyle Parker, the rest. Then you add Barry and Brown, Nick Anderson, and the likes. A lot to be optimistic about. It was a very young running back room last year. Caden Durham had to get a bulk of the carries. Josh Williams kind of got banged up. Then Durham got banged up. And Caleb Jackson kind of didn't really find his footing. But now you bring in a guy like Harlem Berry to add some new life to that room. Tight ends are going to be good. Trey Dez Green, of course. Then Bauer Sharp you bring in. They had him mic'd up at the practice the other day. A lot of energy. The guy's built like a tank. Very physical, can run good routes, has good hands. So, there's not a lot of holes on that offense. There are some question marks still. Who's going to be the starting five? But I think there are way more bodies at the offensive line capable of starting SEC football than I was given credit for in the beginning, in the January, February months. And we'll hear from Coach Sloan later on in this program. He talks about the mindset of going in, of how to be a better offensive line, especially in those red zone opportunities to really impose your will and get a ball punched into the goal line. And he does contribute it all to mindset. He thinks he's building the mindset to really dominate and execute your block, your man. And it takes the wide receivers, the tight ends, the running back, the quarterback, and the offensive line. So total buy-in. Offense is going to be really good again this year. Defense, you mentioned the front. Defensive line looks really good, strong. And the guy from Florida State, Peyton, and Pyburn from Florida. So lots of talent. Obviously a loaded linebacker room with Weeks coming back and Harold Perkins coming back. And you save Wes Weeks one more year of eligibility for give a little leadership in that locker room. So secondary is going to be a little bit of a question mark. You got Pickett coming in at the corners back. He's going to be pretty good for LSU, I believe. And we'll see. I mean, Coach Joe Sloan, I think this is the most talent he's had to work with since he's been at LSU. And this might be the most complete roster that Coach BK has put down since he's been in the purple and gold. So looking forward to it. But, man, a lot of optimism, as you mentioned, and it's just getting started. So long road. Looking forward to that week one matchup. Have to get it done. You mentioned the 5-game snide. Got to win week one this year if you're LSU against Clemson.
We're going to take a quick time out. Pay some bills. Our great sponsors here on Tigers Roar. Hope everybody doing well. Of course, we are in the Lenten season, and so we hope that all of you Catholics are enjoying it. And not look, it's not a big deal to give up meat with all the great seafood that we have in this part of the country. But hope that everybody's doing well. We had a little crazy weather situation on Monday. Supposed to rain this weekend. Monitor your weather as to whether they have to tweak the start times on Saturday. But great time to be a Tiger fan. And as always, we come back, give you a little film from spring football practice, let you hear from BK, Joe Sloan, and others on a Wednesday edition of Tigers Roar right here on Pelican Sports Radio. Back right after this.
Anchored by the performance and reliability of the Civic and Accord, Honda has once again been named the best car brand for the 4th year running by U.S. News & World Report. Come see the lineup of award-winning Hondas at Louisiana's #1 Honda dealer, Team Honda on Seagan Lane.
Hi, I am Dr. Farrell Frugier Jr., and I am a general dentist at Frugier Family Dentistry. I was born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I went to Catholic High School, LSU, and LSU School of Dentistry in New Orleans, where I received my DDS degree in 1986. I always have and will continue to be committed to continuing my education, to invest in technology which makes the diagnosis and delivery of dentistry more thorough, more comfortable, and more aesthetically pleasing. In our practice, we are here to serve the patients. We want to improve their quality of life and to develop relationships with our patients. In dentistry, we have a chance to impact lives on a daily basis, not just by doing dentistry, but by getting to know them and being a part of their life. We also believe in giving back to our community. So every year, we give back to the Greater Baton Rouge Food Bank, Toys for Tots, and Mary Bird Perkins Cancer Center. Please stop by and visit our office. We would love to take care of you and your family.
Visit Treads and Care Tire Company's new location on Hooper Road in Central. Locally owned for over 50 years, Treads and Care is known for quality automotive repair and top-notch customer service.
I'd like to invite you to come out and see us at our new location in Central.
You can't smell it, but you can almost taste it. And whether it's for a family get-together or a game day feast, having Manda in the mix always sounds good. For 3 generations, their quality meats and original seasonings have made Manda a Louisiana legend and made their family sausage Louisiana's family sausage. Manda Fine Meats, the flavor says it all.
And we welcome you back here on Tigers Roar on a Wednesday. We're taping on a Wednesday. Look, it's been crazy with Mardi Gras and Tuesdays and all the things that we've had going on. So we get into a little bit of LSU spring football tape. JP, you start rolling the highlights and we get right into it as here we go, folks. We see a lot of these drills, and this is what we're seeing a lot of. Nuss throwing the ball in space to the wide receivers and running backs. You know me, JP. I'm a big fan of that play call.
Yeah, absolutely love it. Get these dynamic playmakers the ball in space. Let them make one guy miss. Get to that outside and really break one.
Right now, DJ Chester is your starting center. There's a lot of activity at left guard. Paul Mubinga, Carius Kern, and others. Tyree Adams, big number 71 on the left side at tackle. Cohen Eccles and Weston Davis on the right side. And once again, I think it's imperative, JP. You don't know how good that line will be.
Yep.
Get rid of the football quickly and in space because you got a lot of guys that can run with it after they catch it.
Yeah, Nussmeier was really good last year by getting the ball out of his hand, really avoiding a lot of sacks. But, yeah, get these dynamic playmakers balls around the line of scrimmage. Get some guys, the big man moving their feet. Get a little pull block action and really get these guys working on the outside. Trey Green going to have a huge year. You saw him in the bowl game. Absolutely dominated from the tight end position. Played some wide receiver last year, but really is going to shine this year at that tight end spot.
Trey Green is number 14. You're going to see him on the field basically on every down and distance. Bauer Sharp, when they go 12 personnel, which is 2 tight ends, Bauer Sharp number 10. And then when they need a blocking tight end, they got the kid Donovan Green from Texas A&M. The 3 tight ends right now get plenty of action. And JP, quite frankly, Nuss has looked good, but until we see him go against somebody in a competitive scrimmage situation, big year for him. You got him possibly getting a trip to New York, or you holding off on that?
I think he's got a good shot as anybody, but, man, preseason hype around Nussmeier has him the best SEC quarterback, which means he's probably one of the best quarterbacks in the country. In a really talented quarterback class, I think Nussmeier is going to shine. Opportunity out the wazoo to throw to talented wide receivers year in and year out at LSU. That really helps. And Coach Joe Sloan's going to put him in opportunities where Nussmeier can really shine. Use his brains, his dynamic throwing arm, and really get outside that pocket and make stuff happen.
Hey, you mentioned the cornerbacks and the safeties. By the way, you see number 19 right there, Gabriel Relaford. He has blown up. He is fantastic. Right to his direct left is 44. That's Jack Pyburn. He is a talker. He likes to talk smack. He likes to play violent, like he likes to say, I like to strike you. And, JP, we all know physicality with that defensive line. But now that Kevin Peoples got about 6 or 7 guys on the edge, I think LSU is going to pin their ears back and get after that quarterback this season. I know we've heard it. I'm expecting 40 sacks. They got 34 last year. Guess how many sacks LSU O-line gave up last year, JP?
6.
15.
15.
Gave up 2 the first 7 games and then gave up 13 the last 6 games. Oh, by the way, Josh Thompson is number 56. So
Yep.
You see him. 61 is Braylon Moore, and 66 is Solomon Thomas, a lot of freshmen. But wait till you see 57, Carius Kerner. He is a big man. There's Cohen Eccles and DJ Chester working.
And this is why you watch Tigers Roar, to get the Budman and break down the new roster, the new numbers. It's point at everybody who's doing what. Yeah, Budman. I think the defense is going to get pressure from a lot of different areas. You already know about Harold Perkins. But then you get this guy, Patrick Payton from Florida State. I think he's going to be a dynamic pass rusher. Of course, Guillory in the middle, along with Ahmad Bro. Going to be able to pressure the quarterback from a lot of different spots. And you know Coach Blake Baker likes those exotic blitzes. And you start with that front 7. Then you bring those linebackers. You're in for a world to hurt as the opposing quarterback.
And as you see more of the work, this is basically some stuff that we've shot. 61 is Braylon Moore. That's the center from Virginia Tech. 300 pounds, JP. Is that big enough to play in the SEC if he gets his pad level down low?
Oh, I think it is. It's all about the leg strength. You know, those guys can move a lot of weight with their lower half. Definitely pad level is important. And guys with low center of gravity, even though they have the short hands, for guards, that's okay. You get that defender up close. Refs can't see the holding. So, yeah, I think 300 is plenty enough weight. If he's strong enough, keeps that leverage down with that pad level. And a lot of guys, like I said, a lot of guys have the potential to start or at least have some significant playing time on that offensive line. And nobody's willing to give up their spot. They're all competing, and that's really what you want as an LSU fan. For these guys to all be competing during these spring drills and really fighting for those roster spots.
Couple of new coaches, folks. Alex Atkins came in from Florida State. He is very highly touted and thought of. He's going to be helping Brad Davis with the run game and Joe Sloan and, of course, Kyle Williams. Look, it was a loss. Everybody knows Bo Davis and what he brought to the table, but I think Kyle Williams, he's so real, he's so pure. We used to have an old saying, JP, when E.F. Hutton talks, people listen. When Kyle Williams talks, people listen. An undersized D-tackle that played for the Bills for 13 years, and I think those guys are really catching on the person that Kyle is. And, look, he's going to have to learn all the tricks of the trade in coaching as well as recruiting. But I think losing Bo Davis to the Saints and, of course, Nagel to Houston back with their coach, I think they did a good job replacing them. But line of scrimmage, JP, I keep talking about it. LSU's been finessed the last 3 years. Are they going to actually be able to line up and play with the big boys? And we're talking about the Dogs and the Gators and the Crimson Tide and obviously Texas and everybody else. This is a year LSU's got to be more physical, JP.
Yeah, and Bud, man, it's hard for me to just chalk it up as a mindset. And you'll hear from Coach Brian Kelly and Joe Sloan that we'll talk about, everybody has to buy in. It takes a complete team, all 11, to get the running game going in order to block the assignments. With all the star power on this offensive line last year, I can't understand how it would just be a mindset that they weren't buying in enough. That's why the team wasn't able to run the football. Yes, it was a very young running back at times with Caden Durham, who was learning how to read the holes, and the timing was off sometimes. But just needs to be more physicality, I believe, at that front, in the trenches from the front. And with all the talent that's moving on to the NFL off that offensive line, that just means one thing for LSU. A lot of guys can now make their names for the LSU Tigers, be tough, mean, and nasty. If you got to hold, you get away with it, that's what you got to do. But absolutely dominate your man and move some people. Impose your will. Get angry, get physical, and impose your will.
Especially inside the red zone and especially inside the 5-yard line. Here we go, year 4, Brian Kelly. We'll give you about 6 minutes of his latest rendition with the media out at LSU earlier this week.
All right, fire away. I mean, I go through spring ball with a different mindset than you guys do, so it's better that I answer your questions than me come out and say a bunch of stuff and you guys go, wow, that's not what I was looking for. So
we talked with Wes Weeks, I guess a week or two ago, and he mentioned just the vote of confidence he felt like he was getting from the coaching staff in terms of you guys didn't add anything in the portal at the linebacker spot. Can you just talk about the development and kind of going back? I mean, why did you guys not want to add, and what do you see in that room?
Yeah, I mean, we felt really confident that was a position that we had young players that we were really excited about and veteran players. We addressed it in recruiting as well. So, when you're making those decisions, and again, adding depth to your team, sometimes is not about, painting with a broad brush where you can cover every position. We felt that that was one position that had veteran leadership and had young guys coming. Like, obviously, our situation where we played a freshman linebacker, we had a veteran player there in Weeks, West Weeks, that we kind of shut down so we could preserve another year for him. And obviously with, Witt being injured and Harold being injured, you're adding, to the mix of that linebacking core. So I think it really was about playing freshmen, him and Tylen getting a bit of a look too. Having two players that we think are premier players in Whit Weeks and Harold Perkins, and then having, a veteran like Wes really gave us the balance that we didn't think we needed to get into the portal.
Hey, Coach Ryder Mill, it's going to be a two-part just on Destin Hill. First off, what attracted y'all to want to bring him in after he had an injury last season, and what does he need to do to kind of separate himself? Because out of some of the rooms you have, the wide receiving room is absolutely stacked, so it's going to be it's going to be hard to get playing time this year.
I think well, first of all, we're well aware of him, and in particular, Coach Wilson was well aware of him in terms of what he accomplished at Edna Carr. I remember I came in and we really didn't have enough time to get into the recruiting process. We were kind of late with him, and so this was always something that I felt like if he was interested in transferring, we were going to be receptive. So that was able to come to fruition. We've had great success with Bryce Brown's players from Edna Carr. So adding another quality player to that position that's from the state of Louisiana, that didn't seem to be a hard one for me to solve. Now, as it relates to the depth in the room, I think what's important to understand is each one of them brings something different to the table. He's got good size and he's got physicality. I think he's got to continue to use that as he continues to learn the offense. Once he's comfortable within the offensive structure, he's got the skills to be a very productive SEC player. But early, he is physical, can help us in that perspective. And, again, another guy that's coming off of a knee injury that I think is only going to be better.
Brian, just with the run game, what is it that y'all identified as maybe the issues were last year, and what are you working on to improve that element of the offense this season?
Well, I think there was a couple of things. We were playing young backs that were learning. Josh certainly was a veteran for us, but Emery went down with the knee in camp. And Josh became, he couldn't be the only guy. So we had to play some younger players, and they were learning. From an offensive line standpoint, we had, I think more than anything else, the opportunity to be successful there. But it's about committing to it. And I think there's just much more of a commitment to it in everything that we're doing, from Alex, who is the run game coordinator, to Coach Sloan, seeing the importance of what we need to be physical up front. I think it's just a mindset that we lacked at times last year that we've really worked hard at building in January.
Hey, Coach, just want to ask you about your two coordinators. Blake obviously entering his second year, and Joe's been with you for a long time, but this will be his second year doing it full time. Do they have more comfort and confidence in what they're doing and what they're working with going into year two?
Well, again, I think all coaches are always looking to, better themselves relative to experience. But the roster obviously makes a difference too. I think there's tools when you have a returning quarterback for Joe, depth at the wide receiver position, and again, putting together an offensive line that can, do the job up front. I think more than anything else is that as they go into year two, they went through a year of understanding what what our weaknesses were and what we need to be better at. And I think that's a great place to be going into year 2, is that let's address some of the areas that we weren't as good as we needed to be. And so that's been their mindset, and I think they've addressed it quite well. We've done it with the roster. We've done it with scheme. We've done it with technique work, adding coaches to both sides of the ball. I think all of those together puts us in a better position.
All right, folks, we've been out there to every available practice that the media has had availability. I'll just give you a quick recap in 60 seconds. Offensive line is going to get close to being too deep. There are a lot of players. Braylon Moore, 61, came in from Virginia Tech. Josh Thompson, 56, came in from Northwestern. Weston Davis has made a lot of progress at right tackle. Tyree Adams at left tackle. DJ Chester and others fighting for guards. You're going to see tight ends with Trey'Dez Green, 14, Bauer Sharp, 10, and Donovan Green, 88. JP, you got to love the wide receiving group, 0, 1, and 3. Chris Hilton's had a fantastic camp. Xavier Thomas, of course, returned to kickoff for a touchdown. Aaron Anderson returned to kickoff for a touchdown. And they add Barry Brown, number 6, who's returned 5 kickoffs for a touchdown. So special teams should be appreciably better. Don't sleep on Kyle Parker and Nick Anderson and a lot of other wide receivers. And so running back, Caden Durham, I'm going to say it again. I said it last time on Tigers Roar. If he stays healthy, easily over 1,000 yards. Believe it or not, Joe Sloan talked up Caleb Jackson and Harlan Berry. He's not big enough to run inside the tackles, but JP, that little swing pass, get him the ball in space. He will put his foot in the ground and make a lot of people miss. Still needs to get a little bit bigger, about 184, but if they can get him to 187 to 190, but if you keep Caden Durham healthy, he's going to be one of the better running backs in the conference this year.
Yeah, I completely agree. The running back room, you got Caleb Jackson behind Caden Durham, Trey Holly, and then you got Harlan Berry, a guy who was very dynamic for St. Martin's High School out of Metairie, Louisiana in high school, scored a lot of touchdowns. Track speed, he's very shifty, was a basketball player his whole life, so he does make those quick moves, does have that quick twitch. But yeah, got to gain some more weight. He can help in the pass game because he has very good hands. But you mentioned he's not going to run up the tackles. Caden Durham's going to have a huge year for the Tigers. I'm guessing 1,200 yards, Bud, man, with about 12 touchdowns. So yeah, Caden Durham going to lead the charge. But and let's talk about the quarterback room, Bud, man. We got Michael Van Buren, the transfer from Mississippi State, and then Jawan Johnson, who did play as an athlete freshman last year, played some running back, caught the ball at the slot, moved to quarterback. He was very dynamic at LCA, went to the state championship 4 years in a row. Very talented kid, and wanted to move to quarterback. Throws a pretty good ball, but he's got to develop. But that quarterback room, it wasn't just for depth. Jawan Johnson, he makes you defend him with his feet. He's very dynamic on the ground, as you saw last year as he played running back. So quarterback room, running back room, wide receiver room, tight end room, and the offensive line room, all very deep. You mentioned it too deep. I think it might be a little more than that. Definitely for that wide receiver room. Great additions in Brown and Anderson, along with what you already had with Aaron Anderson and Chris Hilton and Kyle Parker and Zay Thomas. Fantastic additions to already a talented wide receiver room. So I'm excited for Joe Sloan. I'm excited for Garrett Nussmeier, and I'm excited to see some great offense from LSU this season.
Nuss's younger brother, who is taller than him and also a lefty, was out at practice on Saturday. They have 4 quarterbacks they're recruiting. They're all 27 guys. Look for one of those guys to reclassify and come early. LSU's already got Tristan Keys, the best wide receiver in the country, committed. Jabari Mack, Kenny Darby. I mean, they have got some wide receivers coming in. Look for a big-time quarterback reclassifying or coming in. Got to have a big-timer. Michael Van Buren, not ready to play right now. We feel like he'll be a decent backup by the time you get into August drills. Quick timeout. Coming back, Joe Sloan, second year as the OC. We'll let you hear from him when we come back on a Wednesday edition of Tigers Roar right here on Pelican Sports TV.
Tremonti's has meat. Tremonti's has seafood. Tremonti's has much more. Tailgating and home gating platters. Huge wine and liquor selection. Beer and all the spices you need. Chairman Reserve and Wagyu meats. Ribeye rolls, shrimp rolls, kebabs. 20 flavors of sausage for the grill. Daily lunch specials and game processing. On-site catering also available. Good meat ain't cheap and cheap meat ain't good. Visit Tremonti's.com.
Few things in life are as valuable as family and peace of mind, especially when it comes to your final arrangements, and that's where Lee Serio can help. His prepaid funeral plans make sure your life will be remembered exactly the way you want it to. With Lee Serio, no detail is too large or too small. Call Lee or his wife Gretchen at 225-315-6329. Let Lee Serio give you and your family the peace of mind you all deserve.
Live and play on the fairway at Greystone Golf and Country Club, a serene, challenging golf destination located in Denham Springs. For tee times and membership opportunities, go to greystonecountryclub.com.
From the sportiness of the Mazda MX-5 to the engaging ride of the Mazda CX-5 to the luxury of the Mazda CX-90. Move and be moved in your new Mazda while saving thousands at Baton Rouge's Mazda dealer, Team Mazda on Airline.
Treads & Care Tire Company announces its new location on Hooper Road in Central. Locally owned for 50 years, Treads & Care is known for quality automotive repair with top-notch customer service. Treads & Care offers the convenience of shuttle service and pickup and delivery of your vehicle. You can also enjoy the comfortable customer area, complete with workstations, high-speed internet, and a complimentary coffee bar.
I'd like to invite you to come out and see us at our new location in Central.
Treads & Care, the tires you need and the service you want.
And, of course, we hope that you patronize all of our great sponsors. Don't forget, man, to find meats, we are the official smoked sausage of LSU Athletics. You can pick them up out at the box this weekend with LSU, Mississippi State. JP, Joe Sloan, you love listening to him talk. He's got more athleticism and more bodies in the wide receiver room. Tight end, you're not going to have to worry about Trey-Dez Green. Now, is he a good blocker? He still needs to gain some weight and get better at that. But I think that the interesting things, JP, play calling inside the red zone. You know it. We talk about it each and every year. Got to score touchdowns instead of field goals. What grade would you give Joe Sloan last year, and what grade do you want to hopefully give him this year?
For his first year doing it as an OC, I give him a solid B-. I thought that at times they really bogged down, especially towards that goal line area. Weren't able to punch it in. Not very creative down the inside, the 5-yard line. But on the other hand, look, they were able to move the ball very efficiently, successfully with Garrett Nussmeier. He had a great season along with some great output by the wide receiver. So he understood the assignment, getting the ball to some playmakers. Of course, dealing with losing your running back in camp, then you have a freshman that has to step up along with Josh Williams, who, I mean, it was a bell cow for LSU, but wasn't ever meant to be the guy to carry all the weight. Undersized, but really gave it everything he had. Look, I give him a B. I give him a B- last year. Hoping for an A this year with all the embarrassment of riches in that wide receiver room. Garrett Nussmeier in his second year as a starter, running back that has just that much more experience under his belt, who exploded on the scene last year. Got to get an A this year. Doesn't need to be an A+, but I'm hoping for an A from Coach Joe Sloan.
Let's let you hear from Joe Sloan talking to the media and taking questions right here on a Wednesday edition of Tigers Roar on Pelican Sports Radio. Here's second-year OC Joe Sloan.
Good. Well, one, it's been a great spring so far. It's been fun to watch you guys work together. I think every year it's a new team, and watching this group, and that's the biggest thing is how we play. Watching how they've come together, how they have fun playing with each other, play with energy, play with passion. I think that's carrying over to our physicality at every position, and that's what I think has been the most fun to see and the most exciting to see, really on both sides of the ball. I think the defense is playing excellent, a lot of good stuff, a lot of back and forth, a lot of different situations, and guys have responded to it well. So we've got a lot of learning. Our staff's been excellent. Obviously got a couple new additions who've brought a bunch to the table, and then a lot of familiarity. So it's been a good off season, moving into spring. But I think the kids have really taken to heed what we've been talking about and putting into action on the grass. So that's been awesome.
Hey, Joe. Wilson Alexander with The Advocate. If you were to do a self-assessment and look back on your own year one as a play caller here, sort of where do you think you needed to improve, and how are you trying to go about doing that going into your second year?
Well, I think the biggest thing is we have to make sure as an offense that we can attack people in multiple ways. And, different defenses and what we see will call for some different things. But we got to make sure that we create a balanced offense, that we can attack people in a lot of different ways. And at times last year, right, maybe there were some things that we could get better at. And I think we've attacked those things in the offseason, right? And that's the big thing. And that's where I see with Garrett, but with the entire offense, how we're focusing on just building, right, multiple ways to attack defenses. And here's the thing, it takes all 11, right? It takes every single guy. From our receivers, right, and the way they come in and block, right, the way they crack safeties, to our tight ends, to our alignment, to our quarterback's understanding, and all that. And I think we've attacked that really well in January, February, leading into spring ball. And I think that's been the exciting thing. So that's what I want to continue to see grow.
Hey, Coach, can you just talk about your relationship with Garrett? I mean, this is the 4th year you're working with him, right? And he's happy with some things he did. There's some things he wants to clean up. Just how's that going, and making that jump from year 1 to year 2 as a starter?
No doubt. Garrett's fabulous. I've enjoyed coaching him every year in all his different situations, and how he's grown, how he's matured, and just the man he's becoming, right? Who he's becoming, not only as a football player but as a person. When you look at Garrett was prepared to play, but then there are certain things that he needed to go through that you can only get preparation by playing, right? You can only get the experience by playing, and I think he's learned from that. This off season has been able to be a little bit different, because now he's going back, and when he's studying, he's not just studying his practice tape or maybe our tape and what could happen. He's looking at specifically some stuff that he needs to improve on, and I think he's been really intentional. I think really some of our staff did a great job of breaking some different things down for him, so he could really see some individual things, and he could take back control of those situations, whether it be something technical with a throw, whether it be the understanding of a defense, whether it be how we're playing, whether it be our footwork, all different kinds of things, and being able to really be intentional, take control of that, and make those corrections, and a lot of that, right? And the big thing now is taking that to practice, right? And really a lot of it he's been doing a great job with. And then there's still some things, right? We're still a work in progress. That's the great part about spring practice, because you really can't wait to get to spring practice, because now it's like, okay, all right, I feel this. I'm making this correction. Okay, I still need to maybe think differently about that situation. And now let's make that correction the next day. And I think he's done an excellent job of attacking that. I couldn't be more proud of him. I've really seen his leadership. I think his confidence, and who he is as a person, just his leadership carry over. This year he was always a leader, but I think he's done an excellent job of that, just really being organic, being real, being genuine, and I think the guys are gravitating to it. It's been good to see. It's been a lot of fun to see for him. But excited about the room. I think Mike's done a great job. He's had his learning the offense, right? That's been a big piece for him. When he gets comfortable, he got comfortable there midway through, played really, really well. Then we got in some new situations, right? Now we get back in those same situations. Now he's playing well again, right? I think he's doing really well. He's battling through, and he's working on the things he needs to work on. So I couldn't be more excited about what Mike and the growth he's made, and then Juwan and some of the different things that he brings and what he's done in some different unique situations and packages. I think he can help our football team. So excited with the group.
Hey, Joe. I was going to actually ask a follow-up on the other 2 quarterbacks. Could you give us an assessment of Michael Van Buren from your perspective, what you all liked about him as a player? And then also the decision to move Juwan to quarterback, is that something that was depth, or is that a permanent move for him?
Well, let's start with Mike. Mike obviously played extremely well, did a lot of great things at Mississippi State last year. So when we had the opportunity to add him to our roster, we couldn't have been more excited. I think Mike, when you watch, when he gets comfortable, when you've really seen it, we've seen it a lot this spring, his comfortability in the pocket is exceptional. I mean, it is exceptional. And I think that's a really huge talent for him. And then he can drive the football now. He can touch every piece of the field with his arm. He can drive the football. So I've really liked his growth. Some of the things that we do, he hasn't necessarily done, but he's a quick learner. Once he does it once and as he feels it, he's been able to make the adjustments and make the growth. I think, both Tim Rattay and Trey Holtz and some of the different things they've been able to do, and that's a great part when you have great coaches. We're able to kind of split off, and really focus on what the individual guys need. And I think that's helped Mike a ton. Yeah. And Juwan, wanted to come back to quarterback. It couldn't be more excited to have him. He's obviously a different style of quarterback than maybe the other two guys. He's going to definitely, you're going to have to respect his feet. And just working through him, I think you've seen his growth from a passing standpoint. He throws a good ball, but in terms of his read progressions and doing the things he needs to do. And then, just his footwork and commanding the huddle. I think he has great leadership skills. And obviously he's been electric with the ball in his hand. Made a couple big plays when we've been in live tackle situations. So I think he's been exciting. He's been fun to coach. He's attentive, and he's getting after it.
Thank you, Joe Sloan. Of course, I'm not ready to give the grade out on what I think. Yes, what you said, JP, a B or a B minus at times with play calling last year. Of course, BK is heavily involved. Can they move the pile at the 5-yard line? Can they call the right plays? Oh, by the way, baseball, Major League Baseball starts tomorrow. 8 former Tigers are on the rosters. Paul Skeens with the Pirates, Dylan Cruz with the Washington Nationals, DJ LeMahieu still playing with the Yankees, Aaron Nola with Philadelphia, Alex Bregman now making big money at Boston. As we said, Kevin Gausman with Toronto, Josh Smith, the shortstop with Texas, and Jake Fraley, the outfielder with the Cincinnati Reds. Pro Day out at LSU with the football. LSU, as always, very well represented with those 8 players. And the opening day tomorrow, Skeens is fantastic. Cruz is fantastic. All those guys having great years and great careers. We come back to wrap it up as we give you a little taste of Kim Mulkey. How well did they play against Florida State? Incredible second half. We'll get back and talk about that and much more on a Wednesday edition of Tigers Roar right here on Pelican Sports TV.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
You can't smell it, but you can almost taste it. And whether it's for a family get-together or a game day feast, having Manda in the mix always sounds good. For 3 generations, their quality meats and original seasonings have made Manda a Louisiana legend and made their family sausage Louisiana's family sausage. Manda Fine Meats, the flavor says it all.
Anchored by the performance and reliability of the Civic and Accord, Honda has once again been named the best car brand for the 4th year running by U.S. News and World Report. Come see the lineup of award-winning Hondas at Louisiana's #1 Honda dealer, Team Honda on Segan Lane.
Caught spiders? Premier Pest Services.
Bolello's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent. Depend on us for service, for selection, for price. Get huge Whirlpool savings. Shop now and save on Whirlpool appliances throughout the store. Plus, experience our price match guarantee and ask about special financing. You can depend on the know-how of people who live appliances every day. Bolello's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent with nationwide buying power.
Live and play on the fairway at Greystone Golf and Country Club, a serene, challenging golf destination located in Denham Springs. For tee times and membership opportunities, go to GreystoneCountryClub.com.
Final segment here, giving you a little taste of women's basketball. JP, I've never seen the SEC do so well in the brackets. Of course, 7 on the men's side, making to the Sweet 16, 6 on the women's side. I don't know if you had a chance to see the ball game on Monday night, but incredible pace, scoring 50-49. LSU Tigers had 3 ladies in foul trouble, and yet they were able to hold on and then played lights out. JP, all the way to Spokane, Washington. I've never been that far in the northwest part of the country, but as we know, got to stop dribble drive penetration, make their free throws, stay out of foul trouble. And have you ever seen them pass the basketball the way they did? 29 assists on Monday night. That is the most I've seen in recent years.
No, to answer your question, I have not seen them pass the ball like that. Samaya Smith has not seen them pass the ball like that. Of course, she was a beneficiary. 9 for 9 in the paint. I also had a double-double along with Anissa Morrow. But really the story for me was Caleb Williams. Shot the lights out, 3 for 3 from deep. It was really a coming out nationally, coming out party for Caleb Williams. Happy for Coach Kim Mulkey. She's got that rotation to like 8 or 9. It used to be 6 or 7. So, yeah, deeper this season. Latson killed them in the first half, but they really took it personal, came on the second half, really locked her up. Changed how they defended her a little bit. You'll hear Coach Smokey talk about that, but small adjustments. Basketball is a game of runs, and this was back and forth the entire first half. Lots of offense played between the two teams, and congratulations to LSU Tigers, Lady Tigers, for the third Sweet 16 in a row, and that is what great elite coaching does. Changes your expectations for the game, for the league, for your outcomes. LSU, they're not aiming for Sweet 16s anymore. They're trying to make a run to the Final Four and maybe upset somebody.
Of course, they'll play North Carolina State. Later on that night, UCLA will play Ole Miss. The two winners will play to have an opportunity to get to the Final Four once again. Here's Coach Kim Mulkey talking after the game on Monday night.
Coach, you called that timeout in the third and went and grabbed Samaya Smith. She looks like the Samaya Smith that started the season last year. For her to have a game like this tonight, what did you see from her?
Confidence. Sometimes they don't throw the ball to Samaya. Whether they don't have confidence in her or just Morrow's having a great game or Flage or Michaela. But everybody was dumping it off to each other, and Samaya was finishing. She altered shots. She rebounded. She deserves that. She has worked extremely hard. She has been challenged extremely hard. And the double-double is great. But if you look at that stat sheet, she has guard numbers, 6 assists and 1 turnover. That's huge. And then Morrow, we expect that from her. She had 7 assists and 2 turnovers. In fact, I didn't have enough room to bring all of them up here. Those 2 should have been in here answering questions, but the 3 that were in here are our primary point guards, and they take a lot of the criticism. Well, they also need to be rewarded because they have played 2 outstanding games.
Brody Miller with The Athletic, you talked the other day about how happy you were with the unselfishness, and then, today at times looked like you were in basketball heaven with some of the passing. I guess just how much is there a development process to get there? Like, is there a point maybe recently where you realize this team is really seeing the floor well and kind of coming together?
We've had games through the year where I saw it, but we haven't done it consistently because what happens is we have our wings are as elite. They're elite. And they can come off any on-ball screen after 1 pass. And they're so confident in their ability, sometimes they just go up and shoot the ball, not realizing, hey, let's have a little ball reversal. I'll get you another shot. And I think when they see that happening, they realize this is fun. Scoring is fun. But winning and having everybody score the ball and contribute is just a lot more fun, and it takes you a long way. I said this in the playoffs. Everybody's got to be on the same page. And I feel like 2 games we've proven we're on the same page. Everybody's got to be healthy. I thought Flage might have hurt herself, but what she said happened when I took her out early, she bumped knees. She bumped knees with somebody. For those 2 to get in foul trouble and Shy to get in foul trouble, and our players on the floor, our bench players, to really just keep competing and to go in at halftime up 1, that was big for us. That was big for us. That was big for their confidence.
Bryce Coon from 24/7 Sports. You kind of hinted at it there, but just a lot of people are going to talk about that third quarter. But can you go back to the second quarter and just the minutes that you got when you had to sit Flaugier and obviously Michaela, and what that does for you going forward?
Well, it brings confidence to those that were on that floor. This game moves quickly. There were many times where I thought, am I fixing to have to play these two with 2 fouls? And I never, ever had to do that because of what they were doing on the floor. Just stay in the ball game. Keep it close. They'll be good and rested. And Jada especially. Freshman there coming in, confident, shooting the ball, defending those older players for Florida State. That was big for us.
Yeah, Coach, Matthew Brunith on 3. The third quarter, 31-6. What went into that? What, especially defensively, to hold them to 6 points after 49 first?
Just made a slight change on guard and Latson. Instead of fighting to get over the screen that they were setting at the top, go under, she makes threes, we live with it. And I don't know that she made a lot. We just couldn't keep her out of the paint and got in foul trouble because we couldn't keep her in front of us and gave up the right-hand drive in the first half. So just completely get on her right hand. When she uses that screen, go under and take your chances that she's going to miss more threes than she does free throws.
Michael Cobble, WBRZ TV at Baton Rouge. Just the job overall defensively outside of Latson. Their 2 wings were, somebody that I thought y'all would have to contend with, and you did a pretty good job with both of them.
Well, if you like offense, you kept watching that game today because you had the number 3 team in the country in scoring, and I don't know what we are, 6th or something. So you saw a lot of offense. You just needed to play a little bit of defense, I felt like, to win it. You're not going to throw a shutout when you have Latson. But I did think in the second half, I thought our conditioning was big because Flaugier and Michaela and Cheyenne were rested. They, played very little in that first half. And so they had a little more juice toward the end and were able to do things in the second half.
All right, wrapping it up there, you have Coach Mulkey once again, 6:30 on ESPN Friday night against NC State, UCLA, and Ole Miss at 9 o'clock later, and the 2 winners will play to go to the Final Four. LSU baseball Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Mississippi State in town. Tigers need a sweep. LSU softball took 2 of 3 from Georgia last weekend. They host South Carolina, another top 10 team. They're ranked 10. Softball is ranked 3 or 4. LSU baseball 5, 6, 7, or 8, depending on the different polls. Pro Day, yes, Kyron Lacey is running and performing out there. We'll see what happens with his legal situation, his draft stack. And as always, we'll be back here in a couple of weeks as we recap all the things going on at LSU with Tigers Roar. Appreciate you patronizing our sponsors and tuning in. Have a great Wednesday afternoon. See you on Tigers Roar next week, everybody, right here on Pelican Sports TV.